Welcome back, and this is video 2 of chapter 3, Mutual Action Plans. My name is Freddy or Frederick. I'm the co-founder and CPO here at Along, and in this video we'll talk about how you can create mutual action plans. So I don't want to hold me back in getting right to it, so let's just get going. So let's look at how you can create a mutual action plan or maps for your use case. So in this video, we'll answer these 3 questions. How do you create a map? How do you introduce it to your buyers? And how do you integrate it into your process and the buying journey? First of all, when you get started creating the mutual action plan, outline the things you need to do in the buying relationship. Be it a road to purchase, step to onboarding, something in pre or post sales, or something in both. Make sure you outline these steps and you also put yourself in the shoes of the buyers. What is relevant for the buyer to complete in order, or what needs to collaboratively be completed in order for you guys to get to value as fast as possible? It can be an intro call or demo as a step, for example, a deep dive call with a champion or with other stakeholders, a decision step to get internal approvals, a legal and security related meeting or documents. Think about the different steps and outline them. Then create phases in which you set up the steps or actions. So break it down into overarching phases that are relevant, and then add those steps that we just looked at in the other slide across those phases and make it straightforward. Another thing you should look at here is that you can actually work with internal and external content. Some phases are more externally relevant for the buying stakeholders, and some are maybe internal. Here, for example, in the screenshot, you see the RI calculator or the internal notes. The RI calculator is something that will become visible or externalized later on in the process if needed. The internal notes is something where purely information are shared that are relevant for the internal stakeholders. Think about that. And then don't just write down the steps. Take it a step further and add information to provide context. Upload relevant links, relevant content pieces like resources for the specific steps in the subpage, and assign the step. Set a due date. Make sure you're holding individual stakeholders accountable for the step that is at hand, and also set a due date. This is highly important in order to get the value out of this mutual action plan, right? You want to make sure that the steps that are aligned on, that are deliverables, that are necessary steps to move forward, are actually being taken care of. And you want to partly automate that. So assigning and then setting a due date will trigger automatic notifications to the stakeholders, so you don't have to do manual follow-ups as much. So it becomes a bit like a virtual zipper that moves itself forward throughout the buying relationship. And when you assign people, think about the whole aspect of stakeholder management. In the mutual action plan, you can assign placeholders as well. So sometimes within the buying relationship, you don't the stakeholder you need, but you don't know who the person is. Assign a placeholder to steps and tasks, and then allow other stakeholders to invite a person for that placeholder, or later on when you know who it is, you can invite that person. This is super relevant in order to have a structure in like the preset of the mutual action plan at hand, right? You know what that process might look like. So have a skeleton of this task overview that you can work through. And then the biggest question that I hear a lot in the process is, when do you introduce the mutual action plan? I've already touched base on it with the digital sales room. You need to share the digital sales room and the mutual action plan specifically. Surprisingly, I hear that people oftentimes introduce the mutual action plan very, very late. I find it too late, and I'll tell you why. If you share the mutual action plan at a stage where there's already commitment, then yes, the mutual action plan can help you to just facilitate the last mile. And this is also great, but the best way to handle these things is to introduce the map, the mutual action plan, in your first call, where you have a level of qualification and where you show the buying stakeholders, your champion, that you know what you're doing, that you're prepared, and that you are showing a level of transparency throughout the process, which accelerates the whole process by highlighting the steps early on to not force anyone into a specific process, but to show the usual workflow. You know, let's say you have a call, right? You do the demo, you do the qualification, and at the end of it, you're basically asking, hey, should we, or are you open to working through mutual success plan, mutual action plan? I have something ready for you. I can show it to you, and we can discuss what roadblocks we have ahead. Um, Based on the process we've seen before, I have a bit of a skeleton of an idea of what that looks like, but let's align on what we need to do here next. And then share the mutual action plan in the call and align right there while you're sharing it visually with the stakeholders. And how do you make sure it is used? How do you make sure the action plan, mutual action plan, does not get lost in the process? And one very simple rule is that you always show the mutual action plan when you meet with your customers. Again, show it, share it at the end of a call, realign, sometimes in the beginning of a call, but really make sure that the point of reference from an internal to external standpoint in that buying relationship is manifested in the mutual action plan to enforce accountability and to really get to value faster. This is how you make sure it's used properly. And then what the mutual action plan does for you throughout the process is it makes it easy. Makes it easy for your buyers to understand what is going on. And it allows you to understand what your buyers want and what your buyers are interested in at what point of the process. So, this is the overview of how you create a mutual action plan. I've shared a few screenshots, what it looks like in a long, but this is the overall way to go about it. You can work with templates to really get to a mutual action plan faster that fits your use case. We have a ton of templates readily available for you that you can pick from. And then I want to also leave you with other blog articles, with other information to look at to understand mutual action plans better and how you create one for your use case. If you have questions, reach out to me. I'm always available. And we have one more last video in this chapter. So this is video 2. And now we're coming up with video 3. So see you in a bit.